Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to answer some of the questions that you left on my last video. Just like some back to school Q&A, some advice you guys have been wondering about, or just, I don't know, questions about my life. There were a lot more questions than I thought I would get. A lot of them are kind of the same topic, so I'll just answer more broadly. But we're also going to be doing my makeup while we do that, and usually it takes me like 5 minutes because I don't really wear that much makeup anymore, but I can't multitask, so I think it'll take me a bit to get through this makeup session. Also, if you haven't watched that last video, the giveaway is still open. I think I'm gonna close it in about 3 days so that you guys can get the stuff as soon as possible. Let's start, shall we? I'm gonna use, this is so bougie of me, I'm gonna use this Bobbi Brown face base. It just makes my skin feel good. I feel like it's a good way to start, you know? Also, I'm just using my viewfinder. I feel like I should get a mirror. The first question that I'm seeing is actually about long distance relationship. Any tips for making the transition easier? I've actually only had 2 boyfriends in my life. The first one actually started like the summer/spring before I moved to LA from Pittsburgh. We both knew that I was leaving, so we didn't really want to start anything. And then when I got here, he like asked me out basically because he was like, well, I just want to test it out. I will say that I don't know if I had the most expertise on this subject because we did not last that long. We didn't really have, I guess, that strong a foundation to begin with because we started officially dating after I'd moved. In the end, he didn't end up having enough time to continue a long distance relationship. We'd also gone from like the COVID transition to like things starting to open up again. But ultimately, I think that as long as you guys both are putting in the energy, the effort to make it work, it will work. It will always work as long as you guys want to make it work. It's gonna be hard to not be around them all the time. But if you guys are able to carve out the time to talk on the phone or visit each other, if you're gonna be so busy with this new stage in your life, you're really not gonna miss being together every single day all the time because you have to balance new friends, new environment, new workload, responsibilities, etc. So knowing that your partner's there to support you, it's gonna be an easier transition as long as you're both really in it. Sorry if that wasn't very helpful. There were a lot of questions on how I manage my time with content and with school, and just like keeping myself motivated with like the stress of it all. In general, just finding a balance between like your social life and making friends. When I was in college, like undergrad college, because right now I'm in grad school. I feel like I should have started with that. Right now I'm in grad school, I'm in dental school in LA. I didn't really focus very much on social media because it wasn't this big thing for me yet. It really only started when I came out to LA because I had the time since I was starting school during COVID. Between school and like social life, I actually did pretty badly in my first/second year. For the most part, I've been pretty good at school. Like I've usually found harder subjects not that hard in high school. I'm just a quick learner, not like in a braggy way, just giving you background as to why I didn't really focus that much on my grades. For one, I was taking some general classes, but also I knew that I thought that I was going to be able to get by with the same amount of work that I was putting in high school. That's not the case. Even if you did excel in high school, something about being in college, there's just not as much leeway with the grades. Like it's really quite strict just because your grade's not made up of that much, and also it's like harder. I did focus mostly on socializing the first semester. I don't think that was a mistake. I think that I learned a lot about myself and about how to communicate with people through that. I didn't really have that great of a social life or much communication with people in high school. For me, that emphasis on my social life made more sense. At the same time, like I've always had this urge to like be good at school. Like I just need to know that like it's almost like a self-validation thing. I need to know that I'm still able to do all these things and balance it all. So I just kind of never let partying or like saying no to plans ever get in the way of my studies. If I really felt like I needed to study, I would just say no. Never feel bad about turning down plans or not going out to a party just because everyone's going. What about now? Like how I balance things since I am working now and I still am in school. There's a lot more stress in my life now. To be honest, I haven't really found a way to make sure that I'm happy all the time. There are a lot of times where I'm not happy and I question whether or not this is the path that I want to go down or what is my end goal here. What am I doing with my life in 10 months from now when I graduate? Ultimately, it makes me happy to be working. Sometimes it can get very stressful. The deadlines, especially when I have the responsibility of school, making content, putting on outfits, they do bring me joy. I make the time to do it. And so whenever I don't have to be in school, I am doing that. Lately, I've been realizing that it's okay for me to step away. Like I took a month off from YouTube just because school has been like the hardest it's ever been for me. I'm just studying to take my board exams. I'm in clinic and I have patients and I have to graduate. I have to meet all my requirements. So it's been really stressful because people have not been graduating on time and I don't want to pay extra to graduate, you know what I mean? You have to remind yourself and be kind to yourself. Tell yourself that it's okay if you aren't perfect and you aren't a machine all the time. You don't just keep going. That's something I've really thought about a lot lately because I'm always comparing myself to how I was in undergrad. I was like, well, I partied and I still studied and I still got good grades, because I did get good grades after I figured out how college worked. I'm just so hard on myself sometimes for not being able to meet every benchmark that I want to meet. And sometimes it's okay to just take a step back and just be like, fuck all of this. I'm just gonna take a day to be with myself. Not even a day, it could be like a week. It could be however long you need to feel you're not gonna burn out. Because once you get burnt out, it's very hard to come back from that. It's very hard to make yourself feel like you have any motivation or want to continue on the way that you've been doing, you know what I mean? It's a lot harder to do than it is to say, because you're always gonna be caught in that rat race of thinking like, if I don't do this right now, I'm gonna miss out my opportunity. Speed isn't everything. Sometimes it's about the quality of life that you're leading. That is like a teaching that's been so ingrained in me that like I had to do everything super fast. That's partially why I pushed myself to graduate early from high school and college. Even now I'm just like, I always feel like I'm running out of time to reach my goals. But the truth is, like, you're competing with no one but yourself. At the end of the day, you're gonna die. This got super dark. At the end of the day, like, you're gonna die, and if you can't look back and say, like, I did spend some good quality time with friends, I did spend some good quality time with myself, then what is achieving all of your goals at breakneck speed gonna mean to you? Alright, bitch, put on some mascara. This has been so long. Okay, so I've been using, this is so dirty, but I've been using the I've been using the Idun mascara. It's so nice. It comes off in like the tubes, like it's a tubing mascara, and it's just lovely. And I love how it just looks so natural. You guys were really curious about like what my go-to outfit for classes are. Is there like a specific formula or just, you know, something that I put on a lot for school? As you know, I love trousers. I will always be like a trouser fanatic. They're loose through the leg. The material is usually like very soft and like smooth against your skin, so like you don't really feel like you're wearing that much, and it can really elevate a look without doing anything at all. So my go-to look would probably be trousers and whatever I'm feeling on top. I really like more streetwear sweaters, or, you know, now the trend is like jerseys, those are cute, or even like just something basic like a tank top and lots of jewelry just to make it, you know, look a little more vamped up. And also I think the shoe choice is very important. Trousers and sneakers is such a great look and always a staple basic, but if you want to switch it up and like maybe do boots or loafers, Oxfords type of things. Other than that, I would say another go-to look if you want to be more dressy. Currently I'm loving like a slouchy sock with a sandal, or like a loafer Oxford, or like a skinny type of sneaker. A dress, so easy. It looks like nice and put together and well thought of. Ooh, there's a question about what type of events should you prepare for when packing or putting outfits together when you go into college? I'm actually going to be making a what you have to bring essentials video, so I feel like I will address that then, because I'll be including things that you have to bring just to cover your bases. How did you take notes for college? On an iPad, laptop? What apps do you recommend? I guess that's kind of also related to like how do you stay focused in class and just like studying in general. I'm not much of a like online studier unless it's questions. If it's questions, it just works for me really well to like go through questions and just like, that's how I learn. But if it's more like note taking, I like to write. Actually, I've never had an iPad. I think if you did have an iPad, maybe that would be preferred. Typing on a laptop, just seeing all the words, that doesn't do anything for me. Like it just all blends together into one page of characters, and you can't draw, you can't like add stuff. It's just really hard. That being said, I was a faster typer, so I would type everything even if it was jumbled as fuck, and then I would go back and look at the slides and then write notes when I was studying. And that's kind of why I didn't do well in a lot of my science classes like biology and chemistry, because it was so hard for me to keep on pace with everything that they were saying. People use the Notable app, I think. Like you can organize everything by color, by like font, whatever. It's like, I've seen people use it and it looks really nice. It's all in one place, you don't have a bunch of papers. And I think focusing in class is a lot easier if you're like writing or constantly taking notes, because then you can't be distracted because you'll miss a lot. And then for studying, really think that writing on blank paper, like printer paper, is so helpful because you can visualize everything without the distraction of the lines, different colors, whatever it is you want to do to organize it. It's just visually appealing. I think that really matters to me. I used to spend like hours in the library, especially when I was going through like OChem and failing human phys for some reason. I just never understood that fucking class, even though I did really well in it in dental school. Like, it's all about the teacher, so make sure you do your research on the professor before you get into the class, on what's it called, rate my professor, and like ask around if you can. How am I still in mascara? If I could do it again, I would say yes, it is necessary to study a lot of hours for these harder subjects, for subjects you know that you just need to burn into your memory. But it's also important that you're not just memorizing things the way you read it. Like, my friend used to make fun of me because I would just memorize everything on the side in the wrong parts of speech because I was taking notes and wouldn't write the whole thing out. But then when I read it back, I would just memorize it however I wrote it, so it didn't end up making sense. My best advice, having gone through so many years of school, is to just focus on learning. And that sounds so stupid, but like, if you're focusing on memorizing things so you can regurgitate on the test, or you're focused on getting that grade, whatever it is, being like, wow, this is really interesting to me. Like, I'm really glad that I'm getting this information and this knowledge that I can have forever. It's much easier for your brain to be receptive to that information. And honestly, if you don't feel like it's like you're glad to have this knowledge, then you're not in the right field. Like, I hated chem and bio, kind of refused to know the knowledge. I was like, I don't need to ever know this. I just need to take this class so I can get into dental school. Versus when I was taking my neuro classes, because I'm a neuro major, the grades were so easy because I was just like, this is very interesting to me. Like, I know so much about the brain, and that's super cool to me. Okay, I've been using the e.l.f. Halo liquid filter. It's usually more like a highlight thing, but I've been using it as like a concealer almost, because it just blurs everything in a super natural way and also gives you such a lovely glow. And I blend it in with a little concealer brush. What are some red and green flags when meeting people? And what's your advice for making friends in college, etc.? I have a very high social anxiety. It's like insane. In high school, I used to plan every conversation before I had them. Like, they're gonna say this, so I'm gonna say this. They're gonna say this in response, then I'm gonna say this. You know, that's just not how conversations go. But like, also that was the only, I couldn't help from doing that because it's just the way my brain works. I'm super anxious and I have a lot of social anxiety. But I think once I got into college, I owe a lot to my suite mates in my freshman year of college. They really broke me out of my shell and told me that like I was enough socially, not like verbally, but just like they wanted to be around me. They didn't think I was weird. And that's kind of like the messaging I had received my whole life. I've pretty much been bullied my entire public school career up until college. Another thing that also really helped was I started smoking a lot of weed. Not saying that like this is path that you have to go down, and for me my anxiety was so high that I was able to like let go of intrusive thoughts and all of these worries pretty much about people judging me for what I said, for how I acted, for not wanting me to be there, etc. Like, I could just be. And over time I did learn, like, without the use of weed, I was able to just talk to people without really caring that much or putting too much emphasis on what I thought they were thinking. Because at the end of the day, you learn that, especially in college when everybody is going through such a huge life change, they don't have the time to think about that. And most likely they're not thinking about that. Most likely they're thinking like, oh, this person's pretty quirky, like they have a lot of like, I think that'd be fun to hang out with them. And if that's not the type of person that you're being around, those are not good friends that you want to keep. No matter how you slice it, okay? If someone is constantly evaluating you and like trying to see if you're cool enough, too quirky to be in this friend group, those aren't people you want to be friends with. Those are people that are going to turn on you, and those are people that are going to talk behind your back. I think in college there's not really any more of that popularity thing. The school is too big, first of all. I know a lot of schools like where Greek life is very prevalent, it could be a little bit harder to see that there's no like popularity contest, but it's just like there's so many people that no one's gonna be like, oh, this is the most popular person in school. So you be friends with whoever you want to be with, and you accept whoever you want in your life, because those friends, all that matters is that when you leave college, you have friends for life. If you go into school and focus solely on your academics, you're gonna regret it. I regret not being able to have met more people, create more lasting friendships. But once you graduate and you get into the working world, like I still am in school, but it is semi-professional because it is like you're really just technically just working for the school, but you're kind of bonded by the work that you do, not necessarily bonded by your interests or your values, you know, just like personality. And I feel like that's really what you find in college, because they're all coming from different places and they're all, you know, majoring in different things, interests in different things. But if you can bond on that deeper level where it's not just you're bonding based on the current activity that you're doing. Luckily, once I got to dental school, it was like at that point easier for me to make friends, just because I didn't really care that much how many friends I had or like who it was like socially, if there were cliques and stuff, because dental school is pretty cliquey. It's kind of like high school because the class size is a lot smaller, but I didn't really care to like join any group. I just have friends scattered here and there. Like I don't need to be with them every occasion. If they're a good friend to me, they're a good friend to me. I don't need to join the whole group, sort of thing. You know what I mean? That could be me just like not putting in the effort, but I also think it's just me maturing and realizing I don't want to put the effort. Okay, a lot of people are asking what I want to do after school when I graduate. Like I said, I am in dental school, so I will be using that license because like this shit was way too expensive for me not to use it. Most of my life crises, there has to be a way to say that. I have thought a lot about what I want to do after school, because like I said, I love making content. I never want to give that up, but I also know that it's kind of hard to, one, work part-time for like your first few years because you got loans to pay off. You also want to build your skill set and be really good at being a dentist. So I know that I want to take a few months off after I graduate, which is tough because I will have to find a place to live and I wouldn't know where I'm working. So that's something that I'm struggling working out the logistics for. But I do still want to work as a dentist and practice and be good at it, especially without the bumblefuck of school politics and all of that. Like once you're practicing as a real dentist, you can make your own decisions, and it just feels like it's something I would really enjoy and excel at. I would never want to give up my social media. So as I move through these phases in my life, I just have to find ways to adapt and make it feasible. It's not that you can have it all, it's just that you can plan to make it manageable to have multiple things in your life. Oh, this one says, how did you find new friends and make sure your old friendships don't stay behind? Like I said, like with dental school, I made friends just, you know, whoever I vibed with, and it was kind of like, I had classes together, so it was just ask people questions about school and they help you, you help each other, you end up hanging out and you're friends. But like for old friendships, I did lose a lot of friends. Not lose, but kind of like let go. You can try, it's kind of like a long distance relationship. You can try as much as you want to hold on to those friendships, but if you aren't getting that same back, then there's no excuse for like, I'm just really bad at like reaching out. Like no, real friends, no matter how long it is that you haven't reached out or like how busy they are, they'll be able to like make time to keep that friendship. Old friends that don't seem to be growing, that don't seem to be wanting to hold on to those friendships, like you can let them go, you can let them stay behind. You will find new people in your life, and some people are just in your life for a period of time and they will give you so much in that period of time. They'll teach you a lot, whether it's positive or negative, but once it's time for them to go, it's time for them to go. Is having a backpack better than a tote bag? I would prefer a tote bag now because I live in LA and it's not Pittsburgh where it's snowy, cold, windy, and you have like a fucking ton of layers on. At that point, it's a bit too hard to carry a tote because it's just gonna slide off your shoulder. You have a lot going on, like you can't balance that. But I think I would have liked a tote bag just because I didn't really carry much to school. It's just my laptop pretty much and maybe a notebook. You know, I don't carry that much and it's just cuter, first of all. It doesn't mess up your vibe of the outfit, but also it's like very spacious and it's doable, and that way you can like switch up your bag more often, because who has like 10 million backpacks, you know? But I have like 10 million totes. I have so many for so many different looks. Someone said, how do you manage your social life in school, because at some point school becomes too much and I end up ghosting my entire social circle? Like I said, you could take a step back. You probably will feel less burnt out and less consumed by your academics if you can spend some time with your friend. You don't have to be studying all the time. That's a mistake I made. You don't have to be studying all the time. It's gonna be okay if you go out to dinner with them. Oh, another thing I want to say, it's not really a question, but I wish that I knew that I would make the money back. Like in college, I missed out on so many opportunities. I feel like I didn't explore my city. I didn't go travel and do things because I was so worried about money all the time, because I wasn't making any money at that point. I pretty much was on a full scholarship. Each year was like $4K. all my cost of living was covered by my dad. And I know a lot of people, your cost of living is going to be covered by your loans to an extent. You know, don't overindulge, but don't miss out on too many opportunities because you're afraid to spend money, because you will make that money back. Yeah, these memories during these crucial, like, formative years of your life is going to matter a lot more. Nova Beauty in pink 2. Nice little, my lips fit better. There are a lot of questions about prioritizing, whether it's like assignments and what I need to do, eating healthy, prioritizing mental health. With the assignments thing, I've always been a big fan of doing all the little things first and the big things last, because even though I know the big thing is going to weigh on me for longer, it's also the thing that I'm going to make sure that I have done at the end of the day. The little things, not so much. Plus, it's hard to start with the big things when you can't even get the little things out of the way, because it's like, oh, I have all these other things I need to do also. I would start with the little things, get those all cleared off. Once I have those done, now I'm going to work on something that requires more brain power, or like something that requires more time, like an essay or something. Like for me, editing a video would be like something I do at nighttime, because at that point I've taken care of patients and sending in content, etc. And then for prioritizing healthy eating, some point in your college career you're gonna realize that you will eat just about anything. My favorite meal in college was crock pot, like shredded chicken. I put a can of beans, a can of corn, however many chicken breasts I had, seasoning like cayenne, paprika, chipotle pepper, salt, pepper, all of that, and I'd leave it in my little crock pot on low, so when I came home it was there ready, and it was so juicy, so good, and I would eat that with rice and I'd be so happy. That was my favorite thing ever to eat. It's easy to make these meals and like not have to spend time cooking really, because it cooks on its own while you're doing other things. So maybe look up more like crock pot meals, or like burritos that you can make beforehand so it's ready for the week. Meal prep is kind of important, I feel. Oh, someone asked a really good question about maintaining hygiene, just because, like, you know, living in a dorm, not that great, especially if you have the shared like common bathroom. For me, it's hard to control other people, and that's something that I feel like I really struggled with in college, because I don't wear shoes in the house, I don't wear my outside clothes in my bed or anywhere in my room really. I wipe my phone every time I come home from outside. All these little things, just because like I germ transfer, it's really, it's just insanity. Like, people should not be sitting on your bed with outside clothes. That was hard for me to deal with in college, because, you know, people come into your dorm room, they're just gonna sit wherever, and you can't really control that unless you want to be overbearing. I did still like try to enforce it though, and at the end of the day my good friends knew not to do that. They would always ask me like, is it okay if I sit here? I just like, these are clean clothes. I'm like, yeah, thank you. Like, if something really bothers you hygiene wise, just voice it in your friend group, and like you can judge how that's gonna go. Like, that it could work out really well. Communal bathroom stuff, just always have your slides on and never walk anywhere barefoot. When you're like hanging stuff up on like hooks and stuff that everyone uses, yeah, it's not gonna be the cleanest, but at some point you have to like, sometimes you have to let go of that control. You don't know what people have done before you. So if you just always think about it, it's gonna drive you crazy. And I kind of have like an OCD thing about that, so I know it's really hard to do. But you know, because you're all in a very close contained area, making sure that your personal hygiene's on point is gonna really help you not get sicknesses and, you know, whatever. Don't leave anything out that could be contaminated by other people. Just keep everything nice and organized. You know, I think personal hygiene, especially in college, is quite important. But also, like, if you get sick, it's fine. Like, you're just increasing your immune system. And then the last question that I want to answer, because basically my makeup's done, even though I didn't really do anything. Oh, let's do some eyeshadow. I really love this Cab Cosmetics palette. It's so many colors and they're so good. How do you find confidence in embracing your style in college? I just really wanted to answer this question because it really like matters to me. Your personal brand and your personal style. It seems very superficial to like care about those things, but at the end of the day, this is the person that you're presenting to the world, and I think that people overlook that a lot. So like embracing the way that you want to dress, just because it's not on trend or whatever. When we were in middle school, okay, we used to take the same inspiration from magazines, TV shows, like what not to wear, or like, I don't know if you read the Lauren Conrad fashion like formula book pretty much, but like you would follow all these rules on how to dress, and it's just like our style was not good. If you look back and you compare high schoolers and middle schoolers now to what we were wearing back then, there's a reason why we look so bad. It's because we were so constrained on one of the greatest things about social media and giving us all this fashion inspo is that You see so many people wearing different vibes, streetwear, girly, ballet core, like just quirky stuff, and it works and you get inspired from that. You realize like whatever you want to wear is totally fine. Even if someone else says it's not cute, then their style's just different, okay? Don't ask. I mean, ask people that you trust and like think have similar styles or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you think that it's gonna work out, just put it on. And if it doesn't work out, just change. I hope that gives you some confidence in wearing whatever it is that you want, because you probably are a trendsetter if you're wearing whatever you want. Those things that you're wearing might just show up on the Instagram or TikTok and you'll be like, wow, now people think that this is cool to wear because I started wearing it. I don't know if we covered a lot. I hope we did. Last thing I wanted to talk about is just some general advice, tips, and tricks from a very learned 20-something-year-old. If you are struggling with like your friends being smarter or excelling in things that you aren't excelling in and you just are always comparing yourself, it's gonna burn a bridge. I have a friend, I'm still really good friends with her. She is MD PhD at Cornell. She is the smartest person that I know. She has a brain like no other and a super like multifaceted brain too. Like she knows so much about politics, about relationships, but also so much about medicine and everything that goes on in your body. I don't even know what she does. Like it's like, that's how far-fetched it is. My sophomore year of college, I was struggling so hard in anatomy. Like I said, she was in the same class as I was and she was getting straight A's and I was getting D's, and I was like, I don't understand what's happening, can you help me? And she would help me, but at some point like it's not her responsibility to help me, and I would get so frustrated that she wasn't like trying to help me more. Like I wish I wasn't like that. That was a super immature way to think about things, and I'm glad that we were able to recover that tension that was caused by me. Just because your friends are doing better doesn't mean that they're like, you should feel resentment to them. Maybe they excel in some things, but you excel in other things. You just have to find what it is, and if you are on the same path, you have to just push through and get yourself through it, because once you're through it, it's going to be fine at the end. It doesn't matter who is smarter and who was better. If you have to resit that class and make sure that you pass, like at least you passed. So don't beat yourself up just because someone else is smarter. I know it's hard because I still feel like I compare myself to other people at some point. Sometimes you gotta take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Remember, always look at the bigger picture. That's my like biggest advice, I think. Just look at the bigger picture. Imagine yourself when you're 30 years old, you have the job already, have maybe a different job than what you wanted or what you plan to have. At that point, when you're looking back, will it really matter that that person was better than you? Will it really matter that you didn't accomplish this by the time you wanted to accomplish it? Will it matter that those friends that you had in high school you're no longer friends with? Where are they now? And they're living their own life. Most of the times that will kind of give you some relief for whatever burdens you're feeling, whatever you feel like you can't do, whatever you feel is like so stressful. For that period of time where you're just not even bothered about it, you'll have some clarity on how to move forward, how important it is. For those of you who have social anxiety or just are worried about like joining clubs and stuff like that, I know we've kind of already covered it, but I think just remember, pretty much nobody's gonna remember you, which sounds super harsh, but it's really not. I still kind of do have this insane amount of anxiety about what I've done in the past and like, there being a record of it or people remembering it, just because I haven't been like the perfect person. And I have made a lot of mistakes. I've done a lot of embarrassing things. I've been very immature in certain situations, and these are all things that I regret. I think that right now I'm still working on it, to not look at it as like something that I regret, but something that I'm glad that I'm no longer doing. For you to feel regret and embarrassment, you have to be reflecting on your decisions and realizing like that's not who I want to be, but also like that's not who I am anymore. Because if you're feeling like so much shame about doing those things, like those aren't things that you're doing anymore. I mean, that's something I think you could use to deal with like flashbacks of what you've done, but for what other people remember about you, just like anxiety about joining clubs and being whoever you are, all these people probably won't be in your life forever, and whoever you are at that point of time in your life is totally fine. If they accept that, that's cool, and if they don't, that's also cool. Just don't pay too much mind to it. Ignorance is totally bliss. I know it's hard to do in this situation. I'll just forget about it. I'll forget about what this person said to me. I'll forget about these like secretive, like sneaky looks people passing each other that seemed like they were talking about me. Just forget about it. It's not gonna matter. I feel like I've been spewing enough nonsense for today. I don't even know if that was like helpful or if I said anything worth listening to. I just was answering as I was answering. And sorry that I really didn't even do any makeup. I told you I can't multitask. If you guys have any more questions, please like feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll answer them. Probably better because I'll have time to like type it out and think about my answer. I love you guys so much, and I hope that this back to school season is swell. And if it's not, like, I'll always be here. You can always come to our little circle for support. I would honestly be happy to move my channel towards more of like getting people through things. So I think I give good advice. I just don't really apply good advice to my life. Thank you for watching. I love you so much, and I hope you have an amazing week. Bye.